Greetings, YouTube. I'm not aware if everyone here on the internet knows what phrenology is. Phrenology was the study of bumps on the human head. There was a time when researchers believed that if you could examine the bumps on someone's head, that they would be external indicators of internal brain structures, which would be indicative of behavior. So if you had a bump on here, it would mean this. If you had a bump here, it would mean that. In fact, there's these wonderful phrenological models which are available. They're just ceramic heads, and they have all these little layouts of what's the different things. I've always wanted one. I want to get one someday and display it. I think that they're just marvelous. And in fact, some researchers went so far as to create these big, huge, cumbersome helmets that you would put on people that had these little spring-activated pins that would give you an exact picture of the bumps on a human head. But it was all bunk. The bumps on the outside of your head have nothing to do with the structure of your brain, nor with your behavior. Not at all. No correlation, nothing to do with each other. Why do I bring this up? Well, for the last decade, the TSA has spent almost $1 billion developing a program called SPOT, which is all about looking at people and knowing if they're guilty. So it's taking the whole concept of phrenology even into the wackier zone. So now you're not even actually doing touching or observing measurable things. You're just looking at people, and you can tell by looking at them if they're guilty or not. So I'm going to a couple of nice pull quotes from this. This is from the Government Accounting Office. Okay, they're the people that actually control the money, essentially, in America. 10 years after the development of the SPOT program, TSA cannot demonstrate the effectiveness of its behavior detection activities until TSA can provide scientifically valid evidence demonstrating that behavioral indicators can be used to identify passengers who may pose threat to navigation security. The agency risks funding activities that have not been determined to be effective. That's a smidge of an understatement there. Apparently Mandarin just came by to sneeze. A couple of other nice pull quotes. For the report, the GOA auditors looked at the outside scientific literature, speaking to behavioral researchers and examining meta-analysis of 400 separate academic studies on unmasking liars. That literature suggests that the ability of human observers to accurately identify deceptive behavior based on behavioral cues or indicators is the same as or slightly better than chance, 54%. That result holds whether or not the observer is a member of law enforcement. So I know that in the past, a lot of times you'll hear cops say that their body of experience has given them the ability to look at someone and tell if they're lying or whether they're posing a danger. And one more. No compelling evidence exists to support remote observation of physiological signals that may indicate fear or nervousness in an operational scenario by human observers. In other words, you cannot look at someone and know what's going on inside their head or whether they're going to pose a danger to people around them. You can't. Now, anyone that's been a student of crime, and I've been a bit of a student of crime when it comes to this, like the big cases, will tell you that the really dangerous people tend to be the ones that you ignore. Ted Bundy did not look unusual. He looked like your average guy. He fit in everywhere. And that was the key to his success. There are people that stand out in crowds. That doesn't mean they're a danger. And at an airport, it isn't unusual to encounter people who are nervous. People are nervous because they're getting on a plane. People are nervous because they're seeing someone they haven't seen in a long time, and that could be good or bad. People are nervous because the TSA is about to grope their junk. There are lots of reasons you could be nervous at the airport. And 99.999% of the time, none of those people pose a risk to anybody. Most people don't pose a risk to anybody. Even the CIA says that on the entire planet, there are about 10,000 Muslim terrorists. there just aren't that many people that want to harm their fellow man when it comes to commit acts of terrorism. It isn't common. And because it isn't common, we have no way to detect them. Most of the time, they just look like you and me. Because most of the time, they're you and me. They're just people. People with problems that they haven't found better coping mechanisms. So they've externalized those problems. And they decided to harm other human beings as an expression of those problems. And dealing with the root of those problems is an incredibly complex task. One not aided in the least by asshattery, like the telling people that you can tell just by looking at them whether someone is guilty or not. So, nice way to waste our money, TSA. What's the next useless thing you're going to come up with?